everybody, it's me, Laura, and today we're going to be doing the bow tie canes. Yes! I am back with another Zentangle type cane, and I think you guys are going to love this one. It reminds me a little bit of my Chloe cane. I don't know why, but it just seems to do that. Anyways, I'm bringing in my black clay here, and this clay was rolled out on a #1 setting on my Atlas pasta machine. Yeah, now you'll notice here on my ends there's a little bit of a gap. Fill that in with some black clay, no problem, but roll this out and make sure that you create this black little plug. This thing stands about 1 inch tall, and then once you have this, I'm going to bring in my tissue blade and I'm going to cut 4 sides out of this, creating a square kind of log. Now once I have this square log, I'm going to go ahead and measure this, and it wound up being about 1 inch in diameter all the way around. Okay, so you can see right there 1 inch in diameter. You're going to then go ahead and create 4 of these. So you're going to have 2 black and you're going to have 2 white. So when you go to, roll up another 1 inch tall type log and you start cutting it down, use your other square, or I should say your other black square brick here, to kind of measure it and make sure it's all the same size and shape, and it's that 1 inch diameter. Mind you, you can use your ruler, but this is kind of a quick, easy way. If you don't want to have to use that ruler, you can do it that way. And then do the same with your white logs as well. Okay, so now we've got all 4 bricks, or all 4 square, logs created, and they're all 1 inch in diameter. Once I have all of these logs, what you're going to do is you're going to kind of form a, how do I say, like a large checker, if you will. So you'll have black on one side, you'll have black, and then you'll have a white beside it, and then you'll have the black that's opposite that, and then a white right beside that. So it'll be kind of like a large 4 kind of checker thing. Once you have this large checker thing kind of formed up, you're going to bring in your Ateco cutters, and this was the 2nd or 3rd smallest Ateco cutter, and you're going to place it right in the center over this checker, and you're going to push down. Now here's the thing I did not do, and I should have. 1, I should have let this clay cool, because I had worked with it, right? It was pretty soft, it's fairly sticky. I should have either put it in the fridge to cool it down or something like that before I cut it, okay? The other thing, I should have powdered my cutter, right? Okay, I should have used cornstarch or baby powder to go ahead and make sure that it would not stick to the clay. It was hard getting it out of this cutter when I did this, and I was like, no. So this is one of those cases of do as they say, not as they do. It's like, don't make my mistake here. So anyways, once I had this kind of separated out, I then took a black piece, the corner piece, right? I took a black and a white and I stacked them on top. I then brought in my tissue blade and I thought, let's go ahead, we need to go ahead and cut the corner. So I'm just kind of lining this up because they got a little wonk from cutting it the first time, okay? Once I did that though, go in about 1/3 of the way to go ahead and cut your corners off. Separate those pieces out, okay? And then do the same with the other corner pieces. Once you've cut that other set of corner pieces though, you're going to separate all of this from each other. So even the pieces that are left standing on top, like I've got my black and white still together, tear that apart as well. Once you have all of these pieces torn apart though, you're going to take one of those white pieces, the center, that's kind of the larger piece. That's the only way I can really think of this. Take one of the larger pieces and then the black center, one of the little pie sections, and place it in it, okay? Once you have that, you can kind of see I got off a little bit on the bottom, so cut off your excess, save that black or white clay, whichever you get, and then do the same with the black section. And then match it up next to the white. You could kind of just see by what I'm doing here. It's really hard for me to describe everything. So let's go ahead and make this really easy on you guys. And I'm just going to let you watch my hands talk as I put the rest of this thing together. All right, so now that, I've got my 16 pieces, and yes, I've cut 16 pieces of this and I've baked it. For those of you who have seen some of my other Zentangle type canes, I have a tendency to do this. I will take the cane itself that I've put together, I'll reduce it down, and then I'll cut 16 slices. And I'll do this thing, it's kind of a little bit of a puzzle thing for me. I want to see if there's really any kind of difference in what it will look like if I go ahead and cut the 16 slices and I get maybe a larger pattern out of it. Now this particular cane, I really thought I'd get some very different dynamic kind of looks, and I didn't. Most of it was fairly subtle. The circular piece on the inside with that black, white, it didn't, I think maybe because of that, it really didn't do a lot when it came to giving me a very different look all the way around. However, that being said, I decided, no, let's go ahead and create a few anyway and just see the subtle differences in when you're putting this pattern together. So in this little section, I'll have some patterns that you could see with the black and white with the 16 slices, but there'll be subtle differences, and I think you'll see them mainly where the corners come together, where it creates that diamond-like look. All right, so I wanted to take some color here, and I'm using, it's kind of a pink peach sort of a thing, and you'll see with the patterns here a little bit later on that it's not always consistent. But what we're going to do is we're going to recreate that same kind of bow tie cane, except we're going to be doing it in our grays and our like pink peach here, if we will. Now you will notice here when I measured those logs, they were not 1 inch in diameter logs, but smaller, 3/4 of an inch actually. But they were longer, being 2 inches long. And because those longer square logs were that size, you are then able to cut those logs in half, giving you the same and exact size that you need all the way around in creating that larger check pattern, okay? The key here, though, is that circle cutter needed, right, to create that center. And you notice here, I did not go all the way down on that center. Instead, I made an imprint on the top and then just took a portion of that circle cutter to go ahead and start creating that center. Now, when I did that, the other thing too is you do not have the problem of that clay sticking then on the inside of your cutter so bad. All right, you have a way in which of being able to get out that center, even if you don't powder it like, again, I should have done. But it's easier to get out. So just keep that in mind. And then again, I'm coming back in here, I'm resizing these, and then I'm placing the centers in because I thought that would be a little bit easier also when I go to cut down on my corners. Now I want to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about the colors here. My pink was very light and my gray was very light. And Laura did not follow her own rule of using a very dynamic difference of contrast. I really should have, okay? Because when I put this cane together overall, it was kind of boring, guys. You really need that contrast. And I really did not do that here, and I should have. However, that being said, this cane becomes, how do I put this, very useful a little bit later on. And I'll be showing you here that in a little bit. But for now, I'll let you guys go ahead and watch my hands talk through the rest of this segment, and you'll see a few of the patterns I get as well. Okay, so when I went ahead and I created that bow tie pattern yet again. This time I did go darker, but I went too dark on both. It's like, okay, Laura, take one that's dark, one that's light, right? But I changed it up enough here where it did kind of become a little bit more of a dynamic that I really kind of liked. And that was really bringing in my black clay. I wanted to bring in another color. This, I saw this going where it was like the dynamic between the gray and the red. It was all the same intensity. We have to change this up. So right here, what I did was I brought in my black, I rolled it out on a number 4 setting, and then I wrapped the center of my grays just on the inside of that pie piece, wrapped those in that black on a number 4, and then had those put together. Once I had that, I took another sheet of my black, wrapped it, again on that number 4 setting, okay? Wrapped that core in black. Then I created a stack in my black and white that was also done in a number 4 setting, and then placed black and white strips after I had run them back through my pasta machine to make sure they were all the same thickness, run those back through the pasta machine, and then place that around the core yet again. Once I had that, again, another sheet of black clay on a number 4 setting. So I would have this core with a little bit of a black and white checker running all the way around it. I really thought, let's go ahead and change this up a little bit. I could follow the pattern directly, but I thought, let's go ahead and make it a little bit different and see if that changes up kind of the dynamic of the overall bow tie pattern. So once I had this core, I ran into a dilemma, okay? That core is much bigger than the outside pieces I had, right? So I'm gonna have to reduce this down, right? You've got that gap, you could see it plain as day. Well, because of that, I thought, okay, we have to reduce this. And because we have to reduce it, we're gonna need registration marks, right? So I took a little bit of that gray clay, I created a tiny little log, and I really didn't want that registration mark to take up a huge amount of space in that inner core. So what I did is I flattened this out with my pasta machine on number 4 and placed that flattened piece of little gray clay right at where those, that cross mark is at, okay? On each, the red, the gray, and so on. This way then I know exactly where it's at, right? From here, you can then go ahead and reduce this core and be able to line it up just where you need it to line up when it comes to that outside part of it with the squares. Once I put this all together then, and after I had reduced this core down, I went ahead and wrapped this again in my black, the overall piece, on a number 4 setting, used that same stack again on the number 4 to go ahead and place pieces of that I've cut from that stack, which was also done in a number 4 setting, and place that around that particular overall cane. Then I wrapped it yet again in my black clay on a number 4 setting. I then reduced it down and created my 16 slices. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys watch my hands talk as I put the rest of this thing together, and then you'll see a couple of patterns that I've created from this particular cane before we move on. All right, so in this section, I just wanted to show you where I took part of my light pattern in the gray and pink, or peach, if you will, and then I took the darker pattern with that checker all the way around it and kind of mixed it up together. I took 16 pieces, and this is really where it came more together, where it came more alive. Other than the pure black and white that I had done at the very beginning, this is where I was like, okay, now I'm starting to see some really different dynamic. Yay! And in doing that, it was really nice because I could go ahead now and I could take that one lighter particular cane of the gray and the peach, or pink, if you will, and then take the other one with the darker colors, and then reduce these canes down, have them be the same size, okay? And then cut sections. So you could cut like 4 or 8 sections, however many you need. And then those canes can come together and create a larger pattern like one of these. All right, so this is a little bit of my end result in creating my bow tie canes. Please use the video itself, especially the patterns, for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm always wondering what you're thinking. Otherwise, I am sending out my biggest hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.